Okay. We are here with Steve Hakly, write-in candidate for Minnesota House District 6A. Steve, we'll open this up by allowing you to just kind of give you a minute and a half to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running and what your qualifications are.
Okay. My name's Steve Hakly, obviously, and I'm running as a write-in candidate because I got tired of listening to the arguing and bickering that comes with two-party government. It's more important for me, I think, as a taxpayer of 40 years to represent the taxpayers only. That's it. No party affiliation whatsoever. I was endorsed by the Independence Party of Minnesota, but I chose to stay as a write-in candidate because I can't see myself saying things about party and being a part of one.
Oh, sure.
So that seems counterproductive, you know, for where I intend on going. So other than that, you know, I have served on a town board as a supervisor in Cherry, and other than that, I think just being a union member, attending sessions at the Capitol to voice our concerns about transportation bills, bonding, and so on, and also the unemployment extensions this spring, has brought me awareness as to what goes on at the Capitol, and I think it's disappointing.
What do you do for a living?
I am a heavy equipment operator for Local 49.
Okay. Good. We'll get right into the questions. Again, you'll have up to a minute and a half. You don't have to use the full time if you don't want to. But our first question, this year's legislative session, as you know, ended without a bonding bill or a transportation bill, ended without an increase in local government aid, and with other failings. What needed or could have been done differently, and how can we get past politics to better serve all Minnesotans?
Well, a lot of people say bipartisanship is the answer, and yet with two-party government you'll never have that, and that's obvious. It's been going on for years, and I think if you had a third party, it'd be tripartisanship. And I believe if I was elected, I become the new minority leader of the House, period. So the party that's in the middle has got to start producing something, or I'm going to be asking them why they aren't doing their job. And I intend on using local media, television, whatever it takes to put people on notice. That would be about all I could say about that.
Okay, very good. Our next question, one of the failings this year and for the past several years has been the lack of a long-range funding plan for transportation. Curious how you would support paying for ongoing bridge and highway maintenance, whether it be maybe a gas tax increase, a miles driven tax, tab fees, cutting other things from the budget, or combination, or what?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. You know, if you looked at it, we had $900 million in surplus. Why wasn't a portion of that appropriated for transportation and necessary programs that really do need to be addressed? We can't just hide behind the two-party bickering, you know, and accept that at face value. We just can't do that. It's not effective government. The thing that I think of when you talk about funding things is I'm after putting every citizen to work, and creating a tax base, a healthy tax base that we can implement into our programs, and the necessary funding for transportation, for education. So we need to cut our wasteful spending, and one of the things I would start would be right there, putting people to work and expecting them to work. So.
Okay. Like transportation, rural broadband has been a priority that lawmakers seem to love and support. Yet year after year, the funding for rural broadband is inadequate or is less than what's recommended. How big a priority is that to you?
It's a big priority to me. I think our schools and businesses suffer greatly because we don't have broadband service to the rural areas as well, you know, as cities and metropolitan areas across the state. They're the ones that are receiving it, but rural areas are counted out and ignored quite often, and that needs to change. as a representative for the rural area, I would target that funding. And again, we have to come up with funding solutions from the waste that we have. We can't, it doesn't grow on trees. We found that out, and two-party government isn't able to appropriate that money to where it should go.
Sure.
They have their little favorites and stuff like that, and I'm tired of hearing of it. As a 40-year taxpayer, I am absolutely tired of it. So that's
Sure.
where my line, I don't need this job. I don't need a job as a representative.
Yeah.
I want to help the taxpayers of this state,
Okay.
and that's primary for me.
Sure. We're talking about funding, let's talk about education funding, and we wanted to know how you think education can be improved, including closing the achievement gap. What specific things should be funded?
Achievement gap. I do know that my idea is to end high school for students at 10th grade. We're already sending them, they're already doing well in PSCO classes with the colleges. Why aren't we expecting all of our students to be at that level at 10th grade?
Mhm.
We're looking to fund their college education. Why not do it with the 2 years that they would have spent in high school wasting their life away? Why not get them ready for the workforce earlier? And we can do that by putting them in 2-year college programs early, because they're already achieving that amongst themselves with the PSEOs. It's obvious.
Yeah.
Statistics show you that they do well. So why are we holding the kids back from performing at levels they should and can already achieve?
That's an idea I've never heard before. Is that being pushed by anyone else, or
I don't
where did
believe
you
so.
where did you come up with that? It's,
I can't tell you that.
okay.
I can tell you that. My wife is a principal, or is a retired principal, and she is all about what's best for the kids. She always was. She didn't care what the parents did. She wasn't concerned about what the teachers thought they should have. It was all about what's best for the students. And that's essentially my take on taxpayers. That's what that's what candidates should do, is focus their attention on the taxpayers, and it's not getting done.
Okay. Let's talk a minute about MNsure. There have been some, with healthcare costs skyrocketing, insurance companies bailing out. People are talking about doing away with MNsure altogether and starting over. What do you think should happen?
Well, I think if we took away a lot of the waste that happens, we would be able to fund more medical costs and stuff for the taxpayers and people who genuinely need it. There's a lot of excuse throwing around and people just frauding the system, basically. So I'm big on reducing our wasteful spending so we can implement them into the programs that are really good for the economy and for the people.
Okay. Next question has to do with metals mining, twin metals and polymet. And do you think the governor was wrong to stop the leases, the mineral exploration leases for twin metals?
Yes.
And where do you stand on twin metals and on polymet?
I think they should have already been up and running. Polymet especially, 10 years invested into something like this, and we're still not there. That speaks loud about our legislators and stuff at the Capitol, and our governor especially, all of a sudden changing his mind on that. He was for it initially. Why did he change his mind? Because he's getting pressure from the environmentalists, and there has to be something coming together. People have to be encouraging that rather than discouraging it, because it is good for the economy. It's also, everybody's looking at what's good for the environment. These businesses are not willing to invest if they haven't already looked at that. So why aren't we gathering people who are in the business and find out what they're doing to protect the environment and stuff like that, rather than the state mandating, you will do this, you'll have that permit. It's not working.
Considering specifically District 6A, but also northeastern Minnesota as a whole, what can the legislature do or be doing to help bolster the economy here?
I think what I'd like to see is more of an industrialized market come back to the Iron Range. I think we've maybe just put all our eggs in one basket with mining, and I think we should have always been searching for other alternatives to create long-term businesses, that are producing steel products and goods and shoving them into the global market, so we don't lose our interest in the global market. So I guess that's what I would do, is really push to have more steel businesses and logging businesses for our area.
Sure.
So,
Okay. If you're elected, what would your priorities be? Maybe one or two top priorities, and also what do you think are the one or two biggest issues facing the legislature?
well,
Very open-ended.
yeah, two-party government can't come together. That's one of the biggest problems. Like I say, I've attended there religiously over the years, and it's always the same thing. There's always finger pointing and blaming, and I'm quite frankly sick of it. So I think we need to address those issues, and you need to expose it more. As a third-party person, that's exactly what I would do.
Okay.
Because somebody in the middle doesn't have a majority and they don't have a minority, they better be doing something spectacular and working with everybody there. Another party, another candidate like myself, they better be doing their job, or why are they there? So I think that would be a big improvement to help remedy some of the gridlock that we have there. I do want to see long-term growth, and one of my biggest things is putting people to work and not accepting every excuse. And we talk about what can we do. I'm wondering, what are people doing? Are people thinking more about themselves and their own issues? Are people having kids, and are they able to pay for those kids? Or do they just know that the government is going to take care of those kids? And I think that's appalling to even put that on the taxpayers, that we should be supporting your choices when you can't take care of those kids. You should be thinking about that before you have those kids. And also the drugs, alcohol, and the afflictions that you cause your kids is alarming to me. And I'm not going to just allow it or leave it sit. It's an unpopular issue.
Okay.
Doesn't matter to me.
So, Steve, I think, are you from Cherry? Is that where you're from?
I am from Cherry.
We'll just finish up. We'll give you up to 2 minutes to maybe sum up why you're maybe the best candidate, why should 6A residents support a write-in candidate on November 8th?
If you take a look, if you take the time to review the Facebook posts and stuff of the other candidates, well, you'll laugh like I did, but there's nothing there. It's a blank board of what their visions are and stuff. And I really have a plan. I mean, putting people to work and stuff like that is major. It's not just a little issue. It's a big money saver. Putting kids into the colleges 2 years early. They're going to be taxpayers 2 years earlier, which will help the baby boomer market that's retiring, and those jobs need to be filled. So here I'm offering you putting all people back to work and putting students to work earlier, or having the option to go earlier. They might decide they want to go on to a 4-year college, and that's great. Or going into the military, that's great too. It molds kids into contributing taxpayers for Minnesota. So.
Very good. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you taking the time to come down to the office. And thanks for coming here early. We all can go home early.